ceremony of the 16th class of the Medical School for International Health in collaboration with Columbia University Medical Center. Allow me to introduce our honored guest, Professor Gabi Schreiber. Ben Gurion, Director of the Medical School for International Health, Professor Mark Larfield, I'm sure everyone knows him already. And of course, Columbia University Director of the Medical School for International Health, Professor Richard Deckelbaum, and I'm sure everyone knows him. And our distinguished guest of honor, Dr. Eric Barna, a graduate of the 2004 class. Distinguished guests, faculty members, students, and family and friends here in Beersheba, as well as those watching us live on the internet, thank you for honoring us with your presence. I would like to invite Mr. Mark Larfield to make his introductory remarks.
Thank you, Leora. It's amazing how you changed your accent since last year. Professor Schreiber, our dean, Karen Saljan, I'm glad to see you too. Professor Deckelbaum, my partner from New York. Dr. Barna, our guest, alumnus, families, and friends from abroad. Here, I know there's some family members here, especially welcome. And of course, the class, to whom this whole evening is dedicated, all dedicated to you tonight. You're very excited tonight, I'm sure, and you'll be pleased to know we're very excited too. There really isn't a word in English for how we feel, because if I think of the word jealous or envious, they're words with negative connotations. I'm not jealous, I'm not envious, I'm so excited for them, because that's a look out in the dictionary. There must be a better word. Really, we're really excited for you tonight. It's a really important evening. You're not going to believe how fast the next 4 years are going to go. You think you've got a long period of time ahead of you, but it's going to zip by. And the fourth year students, right, when they graduate, say, gee, it seems like just a few months ago we sat there doing the white coats. So, we're excited for you. I'm also full of admiration for you. First of all, you've chosen a great profession. Being a doctor is a wonderful, wonderful life. I think all of us who do it can attest to that. You've really chosen a wonderful profession. And I think it would be appropriate for me to say you've also come to a great medical school. Not because I'm the head of it. I'm only one of many people in this medical school. It's really a good medical school. You're going to have an experience here that is medical school plus. And I know that I'm confident about that because I've been here long enough to know that you're going to have a special time. And I admire you because I think you're courageous. Not because you're in danger or anything like that, but because to leave home and leave your family and friends, come to a strange country, to expose yourself to a new language, a new culture, it takes courage. It really does. And I know you've come to a good place, but you have taken this on faith. I'm sure and I promise you that your faith will be well, what's the word? Found. I can't speak English so well. Anyways, your faith is well placed in us, and I promise to do everything I can to make this a wonderful 4 years. So congratulations and mazal tov.
Thank you, Professor Clarkfield. I would like to invite Professor Gabi Schreiber, Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences, to address the audience. Professor Schreiber.
Thank you. Professor Clarfield, Director, MSIH. Professor Deckelbaum, Columbia, New York, Co-Director, MSIH. Professor Glick, Dr. Barna, Mount Sinai, New York, our guest speaker. Dear faculty members, dear MSIH students and families. It is a great pleasure, you can hear me? Okay. To welcome you to MSIH. To the Faculty of Health Sciences, to Ben Gurion University, to Beersheba, and to the Negev, and participate in your physician's oath ceremony. It is no doubt that to be accepted to MSIH, you had to prove academic qualifications and previous success. Also, to be successful as students and physicians in the future, you have to rely upon your skills, motivation and ambition. Here, and especially at the physician oath ceremony, I would like, as a psychiatrist, to add a few words of thought. Ambition and success are poor educators for the self. Ambition and a positioning towards success as sole attitudes and sole motive forces are in fact dangerous to the self and can induce the creation of false self. Ambition has to be balanced by an internalized value system. This balance is essential for the well-being and resilience of the self and for a healthy system of relationship within his/her personal and professional environment. The physician oath ceremony is symbolic. What does it symbolize? A change in attitude coupled with a change in self-representation. A change from being to becoming. The becoming of a physician. What does it mean? Many and different things. I would like to emphasize one aspect. A required shift of the center from myself and my culture to the other. The other of the patient, the other of a different culture, the other of disparity population. Among the most striking features of the medical and other schools at the Faculty of Health Sciences at BGU is the persistent effort to cultivate humane, empathic, caring, and communicative professionals. The Medical School of International Health is characterized by a unique program aimed at graduating doctors with special knowledge and interest in cross-cultural global health. The curriculum stresses health and medicine in developing countries, refugee and disaster populations, and third world communities. As a school of international health, how appropriate is to learn from afar. I suggest, for example, to learn from the Maori population in New Zealand. There are three things, very important things, as appears in the written. Tsumanako, hope, Vakaponu, belief system, and the most important thing, Kotaharoha, graciousness. You should notice that these important Maoric themes are not materialistic at all and are worthy of thought. I hope you will reap the fruits of your studies and experience at MSIH and enjoy and fulfill the time to be given to you by your future teachers, patients, families, and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Schreiber. I'd like to call now Professor Richard Deckabam from Columbia University, Director of MSIH. Make his
Thank you, Leora, Professor Schreiber, Professor Clarfield, Professor Barna, and the class of 2017. Welcome to Beersheba. And I'm bringing greetings from Columbia University Medical Center, from Lee Goldman and our key New York MSIH staff, Sarah Sternglass, Alice, Kelly, and Denise, and of course, Lynn Quittel, Dr. Lynn Quittel, helped select some of you here. And also greetings from the probably now well over 400 faculty and staff at Columbia who've known, helped teach, and helped MSIH students over the last decade and a half. So, class of 2017, you're here to become global health practitioners, researchers, educators, clinicians, but importantly, you're going to acquire skills to help individuals and populations. And you're going to be you're going to be sort of learning the skills to help in many areas, and some of these are outside of medicine. Well, about a month ago, in a phone call between myself and Professor Clarfield, we had lots of phone calls. Professor Clark, this was around Obama, President Obama deciding and stuff going on in Syria. And Professor Clarfield said, wow, what a neighborhood we're in. And in my own work, here in Israel, in the West Bank, and talking about Syria and conflicts in the neighborhood, a question often comes up. Ask me, what side do you support? Well, interestingly, speaking a couple of days ago with Dr. Sima Biswas, this question came up. And Dr. Biswas provided a different type of answer. She said, we in the West think of wars and conflicts as being two-sided. But really there are countless sides, many without a face, a label, or an identity. And that's where you come in. You're here to help all sides, always. As physicians, you may have your own personal thoughts and feelings about how things should be going, but your actions must be to support and help the countless sides. Something that you will see here in the patients and populations that are part of the Ben Gurion University community. So as you develop, always remember that you can have a special role in supporting a special family of humanity. Good luck to each of you.
Thank you, Professor Deckelbaum. I'd like to now invite your classmate, Mr. Aaron Herzog, who will be playing on our electrical keyboard because his piano would fit on the stage. Aaron, before he decided to be a doctor, decided to study music at Cornell and Peabody Institute. And he will now play for us Sherbet Moment Musical. It's not a piano, but this is the best you could do here in Beersheba. ceremony, now an annual event at many medical schools around the world, originated in Israel at Ben-Gurion University Medical School in 1974, when the late Professor Moshe Privis, founding Dean of the Ben-Gurion Universal Faculty of Health Sciences, decided that students taking care of patients should, from the beginning, in the first week of medical school, should be sworn in the beginning rather than the end of their medical training. In this tradition, students of the first year class will now take the position of, I call upon Professor Shimon Gulik, past Dean of the Faculty of Health Science and Professor Emeritus at Ben-Gurion University.
Thank you. Just a word to those in the other part of the world about the history of this oath. This oath was written at the time of the first medical school in Israel, Hebrew University, when they opened the first medical school, the first graduating class, and was written by a professor at Hebrew University, Professor Halpern. He wrote this oath. It's been used now by all the medical schools in Israel over the years, and what happened in Ben-Gurion University is that it's being used at a time when students enter medical school rather than when they finish medical school, which is a very interesting phenomenon. And it turns out that that's what Hippocrates did, actually. It was forgotten for many, many centuries, and it was revived, and now it's being done in many other schools. The oath was originally written in Hebrew, it was translated, and just a word about translation. The original translation had it men of medicine. Now, if I try to do that and say men of medicine, I'd probably get lynched, appropriately so. So we now say new physicians. So I would ask the entering class to please rise. You stand today in the presence of your teachers of medicine and its precepts. You enter into a covenant with medicine in order to fulfill its commitments to the best of your ability with wisdom and integrity. That there may be established a generation of physicians motivated actively and dedicated faithfully to aid the suffering human being. This is the covenant into which I enter with you today. You are charged to stand at the side of the suffering individual day and night, at all times and at all hours. You shall protect human life maximally from the mother's womb and let its welfare ever be your chief concern. You shall help the ill, whether stranger, alien, or citizen, whatever his social status. You shall seek to fathom the soul of the sick, to restore his spirit through understanding and compassion. Do not be hasty in judgment, but consider your advice carefully tempering wisdom in the crucible of experience. Be faithful to those who put their trust in you. Do not reveal their secrets, nor act as a gossip. Honor and respect your teachers who have labored to guide you with the path of medicine. Guard the honor of your colleagues zealously, for their honor is your own. Increase wisdom and do not become worn down by the struggle, for wisdom is your life and it has the power to sustain life. Use your wisdom for the health of the public as well as to bring healing to the ills of the community. May the words of this covenant be close and dear to you, articulated clearly and felt deeply, that you may carry them out. And you will all respond, Amen.
Amen.
May your efforts to enhance the heritage of medicine throughout the world flourish.
You may be seated. Thank you, Professor Gulik. I would like to ask Professor Richard Deckelbaum to come back to the stage and introduce our guest of honor, Dr. Eric Garner.
Well, this is really a pleasure because this is third time now, 3 years in a row, that our MSIH Alumni Association has selected you're all going to be part of this Alumni Association. Congratulations in advance. And it's really a pleasure to welcome back a graduate from the class of 2004, Dr. Eric Barna. And Dr. Barna, after he finished MSIH, actually obtained a Master of Public Health at, guess where, Columbia University. And then went on to residency at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in internal medicine and became chief resident. After that, he's been at Mount Sinai. Is that on purpose? Mount Sinai Medical Center, where he's assistant professor in the Department of Medicine. And here's what's special about Eric Barna. If you go through his CV, he's been really focusing on education. And as you know, he's talked to students today, and I think three rounds, 3 sets of rounds. And I hear he's pretty good. But not only do I hear that, but he's, I think, already received 2 teaching awards for excellence. And that's really terrific. So this is really the kind of graduate that we're really proud of. And in his education role, not only is he here with you, but he's also clerkship director of the Mount Sinai School of Medicine, Department of Internal Medicine, and head of the medical sub-internship. So some of you may be doing sub-internships under him. And it's really a pleasure to welcome you back. Eric Barna, welcome back to MSIH.
Nostalgic for me, first of all, because we also had music and entertainment at our White Coat ceremony, and it's very exciting to be here again. 2004 was a long time ago, but not that long. So, good evening and welcome. I'd like to thank the faculty, administration, and the alumni committee for the opportunity to address you on this most pivotal day in your lives. It is truly an honor for me to stand here, to reflect for a moment on the start of my own career, and to see the bright and diverse future that you young physicians will bring to the face of medicine. It was not so long ago that I sat right there in the 3rd row, about 3 seats in, nervous, excited, curious, and frankly, still recovering from the culture shock that was Beersheba. Now, several years later, I can look back at that moment, the years to follow, and the breadth of experience, both professional and personal, that I gained. And I stop for a moment and I smile. I feel a sense of calm and accomplishment, but also a sense that there's always so much more to learn, to change, and to experience. When you put on your own white coats, you have just taken the physician's oath ceremony. I want you to savor the moment. Recognize that the depth of responsibility and the transformative influence it will have on your lives will be outstanding. I also want you to take a moment and recognize that your white coat will probably never be as white as it is the first day that you wear it. While I'm sure you have all consulted the most coveted medical encyclopedia, Wikipedia, and conducted a thorough search for the meaning of the white coat ceremony and the physician's oath, there is more to this moment than any piece of literature can adequately describe. While I'm of the firm belief that for each individual in this auditorium, the meaning of this ceremony is different, unique, and dynamic, there does exist an innate and common thread that bonds us all. Having been more the visual learner in medical school and afterwards, I'd like to take a moment to show you 2 paintings that many of you may have already seen by the same artists that are separated by only 14 years in history. These two works offer a clear demonstration of the evolution of the medical profession and the first portrayal of the white coat. In the first painting that you see above, in Thomas Eakins' The Gross Clinic, we get our first glance into the operating theater as a conservative operation for osteomyelitis is performed on a young man. We can see the lack of any white coat. Instead, a thick wool coat worn by all of the physicians, rarely washed, never sterilized, representing the formality, the darkness, and the clear division between patient and physician in those times. In contrast, in Thomas Eakins' The Agnew Clinic, completed in 1889, we are again taken into the operating theater where a partial mastectomy is underway. We can see the bright white coats, the purity, the clarity, and the connectedness between physician and patient, and for the first time, the presence of a nurse, denoting the core concept of teamwork that frames modern-day medicine. If Thomas Eakins were alive today, and asked again to capture the portrait of modern-day medicine, while the result would likely be a digital image, probably taken on an iPhone, it would capture a group just like the one that sits before me today. A group of students who traveled thousands of miles away from home, from all walks of life, with diverse cultural, religious, and educational backgrounds, to start a unique adventure that no other medical student anywhere will ever experience. You represent the physician who will see beyond the four walls of a hospital room, past the intravenous catheters, medications, and sounds that surround the ill. Your eyes will be trained to see the patient first, to recognize that no two patients are alike. You will instinctually recognize the cultural, religious, and regional backgrounds that represent the human being in front of you. Because you sit in these seats, you have already chosen to be different, to be the part of what has become a true necessity in the evolution of medicine. You will soon learn to recognize the complex and three-dimensional factors that define your patient in any city, town, or rural village anywhere in the world. Our world is changing, and there is no longer a template of care that we can apply to every patient we encounter. When I sat here on this very occasion, several years ago, I would not yet recognize the important role that this program would play in my future and the lives of the thousands of patients I have since encountered. Even in a city like New York, an urban metropolis with over 9 million people, the core principle of recognizing each patient as individual and unique, culturally varied, and religiously diverse have become the most cherished tools in my practice of medicine. As your careers evolve, you will learn quickly that the most important and valuable lessons learned in medicine come from the patients you care for. I'd like to take a few moments to tell you about Mrs. H. Her story is one of the most moving of my career and has changed the way that I view my role in the lives of my patients. It has also demonstrated how important a role these 4 years that I spent here played in the care of the patients that I take care of today. Mrs. H was admitted to the inpatient service for recurrent abdominal pain in the right upper quadrant. Initially seen in the emergency department, she was discharged since a brief and standard history revealed no immediate threat to life. She was scheduled for follow-up in an alternate facility since she was uninsured and undocumented and could not be seen in our own internal medicine clinics. She returned only 1 week later with continued abdominal pain. She was admitted by the emergency department for what was thought to be a mild viral infection in her abdomen. When I first walked into her room on Wednesday morning at 8:30, I was taken aback. Ms. H was young, only 27 years old, just a few years younger than me at the time, and older than the senior-most resident on my clinical team. Walking into her room, she was like any of us. I found her in her bed, in her own street clothes, on FaceTime, with her friends, via her iPhone. A People magazine was scattered on her desktop, and the nightstand was filled with all of her personal belongings. An iPad lay resting on her lap. She smiled and wished me a good morning. Her smile was warm, welcoming, but hidden behind it, I could see that she was not well. A hint of pain and a masked expression suggesting that there was more to this patient than originally thought. I spent the next 1.5 hours in her room, sitting across from her eye to eye in a chair. I learned not only about her symptoms, but her life. It took some time for her to trust me enough to tell me the secret intricacies of the life that she led in the States. Having moved to New York City to be a freelance photographer, she left Korea for a better life. Her family was quite poor, and she felt as though life in Korea was but a dead end. While arriving initially on a tourist visa, she never returned. She never saw a doctor because she felt as though care would not be provided because of her immigration status, and for fear that she may be reported and subsequently deported back to Korea. She later endorsed that she was told that she had a quote-unquote problem in her liver, but that the doctors had never taken the time to sit with her and explain adequately what she was supposed to do while in Korea to follow up with this problem. She also later endorsed that she had been having weight loss, night sweats, and that she could barely get any of her photography work done as she was so weak at times, weak enough to not be able to move from bed. I weighed heavily the need for exposing her to radiation, a young female, with a CAT scan of her belly. But given the comprehensive history and the extensive time I spent with her in the room, I felt that there was more to this than the eye could see. I did a CAT scan of the belly, and about 2 hours later I was called by the senior radiologist with a panic reading on the image. The words on the phone had to be repeated for me to comprehend the gravity of their meaning. 4 massive lesions in her liver, clinically consisted with advanced cancer of the liver, further evidence that there was extensive spread of this cancer to the rest of her abdomen, and that there were massive blood clots noted at the lower bases of her lungs. We had an urgent briefing with my entire medical team, including my senior, junior residents, my medical students, in our conference room. The news was heartbreaking and sent chills through all of us. My senior resident, one of the best I had worked with in all of my career, a female, only 26 years old, herself broke down for the first time in all of my time of working with her. She asked if I could break the news to the patient, as it had become too emotionally overwhelming for her to discuss it with the patient alone. I walked into the patient's room and sat on the bed next to her. For the next hour, we spoke about the findings, the prognosis, and the options, which were fairly limited. She cried and hugged me and thanked me for at least being honest with her and clear and directed. I left the room almost shattered. I couldn't help but see my own life in her eyes, young, vibrant, with so many dreams yet to be fulfilled. I asked the patient if I could call her mother, and she noted that she would not like to tell her mother about the findings over the telephone, but that her uncle in Korea could be notified. My team and I worked tirelessly. We coordinated care between New York City and Korea with numerous interpreters. We held meetings with her friends here in New York City at her bedside, where they cried, laughed, and even collected enough funds to secure her a return ticket to Korea. We reached out to colleagues in Korea and were able to enroll her in a trial for advanced hepatocellular carcinoma, a cancer of the liver that carries an almost fatal diagnosis. We started the patient on blood thinners for her blood clots in her lungs, and we awaited the time that her flight should arrive to discharge her directly to the airport for her return. I was off that weekend after those couple of days of meeting her, but I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about this patient, her life, and what the rest of her life would be. On Monday, when I returned to work, I entered the room first at 6:30 in the morning, eager to see her. The patient appeared clinically changed, not as responsive, sleepy, pale, with worsening abdominal pain. My residents were already aware that something was terribly wrong. Shortly after, blood tests and imaging would reveal that her tumors had started to bleed. She assigned her closest friend as a healthcare proxy, and our palliative care team met with her to discuss her advanced goals for life. Recognizing her prognosis and what her life would be with this disease, she decided that she would not want heroic measures in the event that she should have cardiac arrest. By Monday afternoon, just several hours after that, her blood counts began to drop dramatically. Our interventional radiologists at Mount Sinai, who are phenomenal, could not stop her bleeding. At 5 p.m. on the same day, the patient went into cardiac arrest while all of her friends were in the room. She passed away comfortably, without pain, surrounded by the only love that she had in our city. Standing at her bedside, it was almost surreal. I looked around and saw her friends sitting on the floor, comforting each other, my residents and my medical students hugging each other and crying right by the door. We had worked tirelessly on the cultural and individual aspects of this case, and yet we could not save Mrs. H. I felt as though we had failed. I called her mother over the phone, thousands of miles away, in Korea, with an interpreter, with her friends in the room nearby, and gave her the most terrible news of her life. She sobbed and could barely speak. She had no questions for me, and shortly thereafter the line went silent. On Thursday, almost 4 days later, I was called by patient relations that the mother of this patient would be arriving in New York City to claim the body of her daughter and to transport her back to Korea. She asked to meet me and my team, and a meeting room was set up. The patient's friends, myself, 3 interpreters, and my team sat in a conference room overlooking Central Park. An older woman, eyes red from crying, tired and slow moving, entered the room. Everyone bowed their head in respect. Everyone sat in silence for a few moments to acknowledge her presence. She took a seat right next to me and was introduced to all members of my team. Before I could even begin to speak, to express my condolences, she asked if she could speak first via the interpreter. I was sure in my mind that this would be an expression of anger for not doing more for her daughter, for not saving her life. After a few moments of silence, she gathered herself and said, "I came here to take my precious daughter, my only daughter, home. But I also came here, leaving my own country for the very first time in my life, to say thank you. Thank you to you and your team for being the mother I couldn't be, for being the caretaker I was not able to be, and the friends that my daughter needed at her most darkest hour. Thank you for calling, coordinating across the world all that you did and all that my family has told me you had done for my daughter. While I will never recover from the loss of my daughter, I am at ease knowing that the care you provided her was close to family as she could have had, and for that I am thankful." She bowed her head to myself and my team, leaned over and grabbed me in a tight hug that I will never, ever forget. She didn't let go for almost 5 minutes. As I left the building, almost an hour later, facing Central Park, it was the most beautiful of days. The sunshine, the smell of the grass from the park surrounded me. While I attempted the daunting task of hailing a taxi cab in New York City, I stood there. I could see out of the corner of my eye that the patient's mother exited the hospital as well. She stood just behind me. She stared at the sunshine, her shoulders relaxed, her face slightly less tense, and a sense of relief ever present in her eyes. I now recognize with clarity that from the moment that we put on our white coats and take our physician's oath and enter into the world of medicine, that we are more than just a physician. The white coat and its evolution from separate to united, from dark to pure, shapes our own individual and dynamic connectivity to our patients. We are parents, we are caregivers, and healers of both the body and the mind. The choices we make, the course of studies we pursue, and the patient encounters of our junior years will forever shape the type of physician we become. I spent 4 of the greatest years of my life in this country in this program. I learned to understand the cultural nuances with my trips on the Bedouin Mobile Care Unit. I adopted a seamless method of interacting with interpreters with the new immigrants of this country. And I thrived at adapting my skills and behaviors to local cultures on my trip to Vellore, India during my international clerkship. You will all shape your own journeys, form everlasting bonds, and most importantly, mold your practice of medicine to adapt to any patient anywhere in the world. So as you move forward this evening, remember, stop, savor the moment, and breathe. Your futures will be bright and fruitful, and your contributions to the practice of medicine will be immeasurable. I congratulate you on this most momentous occasion and welcome you as colleague and friend into this most amazing of professions. Good luck and good evening to you all.
Class representatives Hannah Glinter and Virginia Byron to give the class address and to be the class honor code.
I'm Virginia Byron. We're this year's class representatives. 2017. Dear family, friends, professors, classmates, and wiser MSIH students, the class of 2017 thanks you for joining us in person and online in witnessing this rite of passage as we take these pledges to mark the beginning of our lives in medicine. Thank you for your guidance, support, and love.
As we approach our 4th month here in Beersheba, many things have come to define our class's experience so far. The most defining part of my experience, at least, are my classmates. I'm constantly impressed by the richness of the backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives that comprise our class. We are artists, explorers, musicians, storytellers, athletes, writers, thinkers, performers, and now family.
Our student body is one of the many things that make the MSIH experience unique. And aside from the street cats, falafel, FADH Stein, and mitochondria, eggplant with tahini, eggplant with tomatoes, eggplant, spicy eggplant, eggplant over the fire, baba ganoush, being immersed in a language where she is he and he is who is me, and a dog is a fish. And of course, not knowing which dairy product you're ever buying. The opportunity to write and pledge our own physician's code of ethics is a truly defining experience.
Those of us who are present for the creative process can attest to the emotional investment, impassioned deliberation, and reverential attention to detail that went into writing our personal code. Every word is infused with passion and meaning. The process not only brought classmates together in a creative collaboration, but it stimulated discussion and new ideas about medical ethics, the obligation of physicians to both their patients and society as a whole, semantics, and the need for a code in the first place. The verbal oath that we are about to take is made that much more meaningful because it comes not just from our mouths, but from our hearts and minds as well.
We drew upon historical medical codes for both our structure and our content, updating and broadening where we felt necessary. One challenge we faced repeatedly was creating a code that was both tailored to us as a class, while allowing for the difference in values and opinions within our class. We are honored to have the opportunity to create a pledge that reflects the uniqueness of our class, incorporating our collective and our individual motivations, aspirations, and ideals regarding the art and practice of medicine. Thank you for sharing this with us. We will now present the class of 2017 Code of Ethics.
As a practitioner of the art of medicine, I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of humanity.
I pledge that the health of the patient will be my first consideration.
I pledge to never knowingly harm the patient.
I pledge to give to my teachers the respect and gratitude that is their due.
I pledge to work alongside my colleagues to advance the practice of medicine.
I pledge to remain current in my field and humble in my knowledge.
I pledge to be mindful of the social determinants of health.
I pledge not to permit biases based on age, disease, disability, creed, ethnicity, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or any other factor to intervene in my duty to the patient.
I pledge to uphold the integrity of the medical profession.
I pledge to practice my profession with conscience, dignity, deliberation, and intention.
I pledge to maintain the confidentiality of the patient.
I pledge to respect the dignity of human life.
I need not allow this code to supersede the pledges and oaths that I make first as a human being and a member of the global community.
I make these pledges solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Thank you.
Thank you, students. Prior to completing our ceremony, Dr. Asher Moser will announce the Distinguished Service Awards for this year.
So the Distinguished Service Award that we have traditionally coupled with the Physician's Oath ceremony is a
unique manifestation of what we believe as your teachers and as the administration has put it forward as a goal that we think that the global health cannot thrive without this kind of volunteer work. We award this Distinguished Service Award to those individuals and groups or couplets who have voluntarily, over a considerable amount of time, performed a service either to an individual, to a community, to a cause, which has made them worthy of this recognition that we would like that other future graduates would follow suit. Every year we have many people who are being offered to be awarded. We have a committee. I head it with Drs. Tandon and Niel, and we sit together and we decide which of these has the uniqueness and the value that we are looking forward to promote. For the award giving out, I would like to ask Professor Clark to assist me in handing out. So this year the award is given to 2 couplets and 2 individuals for their work of honor. The first one I would like to mention, the 2 are Chris Brown and Angie Sai. You can please come forward and I'll explain why. After learning about the growing problem in Senegal in which small-scale gold miners were using unsafe refining methods, exposing them to mercury fumes, it designated an education intervention to intervene and to address this problem. Their program included consisting of a formal education component and talks led by the community health workers to explain the hazards, recognize the signs of mercury toxicity, and provide alternative methods, as well as concurrent complementary peer-to-peer education to reinforce materials in this course. For this, we would like to recognize their service and the second couplet I would like to announce is Mr. Devin Batchel and Ms. Laura Irene Deming is here. They are the co-founders of the Global Health Made Local project, GHML, and they serve as program coordinators. These 2 have, together with some of the administration, have worked with the social department of the municipality of Beersheba, and they seeked out families in need who are both in medical need and in care need, and 4 families were identified. 8 students were matched by these coordinators to follow these families throughout a considerable period of time and to assess and to address various issues that have been very important to them. And we consider this one of our prime projects that we would like to acknowledge. The next award is going to Mr. Ross Green. Please come on. Mr. Ross Green has helped organize the class and the MSH anatomy dissection ceremony. To understand the gravity of this, one has to go to medical school and just to understand that when we go through the dissection anatomy classes, we are grateful to the people who have devoted their lives and their bodies so that we as medical students may participate and learn about the human body firsthand. This is a very moving moment in the life of a young medical student, and this individual has promoted and pushed forward the notion that donating your body to the medical student to dissect is something that has to be recognized and has to be appreciated and has to be taken very, very seriously and should be considered something of great value. Mr. Ross has done so. The sixth award that we want to present today goes to Tim Lee of the class, of the 32 class, and for his novel work on generating the series of TED, MSIH, VGU lectures, effortlessly promoting what we believe is what should be a message, a flag, something that we want to promote around the world, and he has done so with almost perfect precision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, doctors. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the administration staff of MSIH, and especially Anat Zer. Thank you, Anat, for helping us organize this evening. This concludes our ceremony. Before you rise, we will be having a buffet outside. It's on the grass. You'll find the food. It's not the food, you find it. And after that, we'll come back here for all of your performances. With the audience, please rise for a tikva. It was supposed to be music, right?